how to take your spring loungewear to the next fucking level immediately. Hi, my name's Sophie, aka Cinnamon, and this is my YouTube channel. Welcome. And today I am pining for spring, lads. Historically, spring, not my favourite season. I'm like an autumn and winter girl through and through. I like summer under the right circumstances. I'm not a huge fan of spring. I don't know why. Childhood trauma, who knows? But in recent years, I have noticed that around this time of year, I start to really pine for it and get like tantalizing glimpses of it. So today I am dressed for the weather I want, not the weather I have. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Paris, and from inside my apartment, I could be fooled that it is already spring, but it is in fact 0 degrees, lads, with a small chance that it's going to snow. So I'm enjoying spring from inside the warmth of this apartment, which is being like heated by the skylights. And I'm dressed in these new trousers that have become my hyperfixation from Uniqlo. They're the barrel trousers, and my De Nerve sweater, which feels very spring coded. I am obsessed with this sort of knit. I really want to make more spring themed knits to wear. And I'm trying to get a head start on my seasons a little bit as I approach my 1-year anniversary of kind of taking knitting seriously. So today I have gathered for you almost 100 free patterns for you to knit this spring. And we're going to go through them. We're going to have to go through some of them quite fast. But each of these patterns is available for free, and I have put them all together in a Ravelry bundle, which will be linked below. And the reason I did this is because I've been thinking so much about my own spring knits and really wanting to knit things for the upcoming season. And also just thinking about like what I want my spring summer 2025 style to be now that I'm making more of my own clothes. I also want to get away from just knitting sweaters, because knitting sweaters is so much fun, but I am ready to knit some garments that are not sweaters. And I want to challenge myself. And the other thing is that I have seen lots of people, there's been lots of discourse recently that I will not be getting into today. This is not a controversy video, but lots of discourse recently on pattern theft and the cost of patterns. And it's made me realize, reading some of it, that some people aren't aware of how many free patterns there are out there. So I wanted to put together a bundle just dedicated to free patterns, because there are so many. Really good contemporary designers will often offer 1 or 2 of their smaller patterns for free, and some of those are on this list. And then there are also amazing archives of free patterns from places like Drops. You'll notice that Drops is heavily represented in this list, Garn Studio, and older patterns on Ravelry that are also available for free. So every single one of these patterns is available for free in some format. Some of them are available for free as like the written pattern or like a chart even. A few of them are available for like a paid download pattern, but then they're free on a blog. Or they're available for like a paid downloadable PDF pattern, a written pattern, but they're available for free as a YouTube tutorial. But they are all available for free in some form. And I have also tried to make sure that they're all available in the English language, because that's the majority of my audience and also my first language. So I'll start by talking a little bit about how I pick these. And honestly, I would say that like most of these are my style, because that's the only style I know how to cater for, to be honest. I have a very particular style. I'd say I'm quite feminine. I like things that lean a bit vintage. I am very into contemporary fashion, although I feel like not always super clued up, and also a bit old to participate in some of it, to be quite honest, and a bit stuck in my ways. But I would say I have an interest in contemporary haute couture and design, but I also am very inspired by vintage fashion and vintage cinema. So some of these have a bit of a vintage lean. And these are kind of catered to my style, which I would say would be like sort of aging femme who's watched a lot of 1960s cinema. So that is to say, I have tried to pick a few patterns that are more androgynous or masc leaning, but quite a lot of these patterns are more feminine. And I've divided it into sections based on my kind of spring wish list. So we're going to go through them, and we're going to start with tops. We're going to start with tops, which is like includes like cardigans, blouses, t-shirts, tank tops. Then we're going to move on to bottoms. Very exciting, something I want to get into more. So we've got some skirts, some shorts, and some trousers. very ambitious. Who is brave enough to knit a free trouser pattern? Who amongst us? Is it going to be me or is it going to be you? And then we're going to move on to accessories. So socks, scarves, headwear, scrunchies, things like that. And altogether, these kind of like form a version of my spring style wish list. So first on my list, and one of the things I absolutely love for spring and autumn, is a wrap cardigan. So I have a couple of wrap cardigans that I've worn for years. I also had a kind of unsuccessful attempt to knit the Levitate wrap by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It was a whole saga. Anyway, I'm ready to tackle the wrap cardigan again. And I found a couple of free options. So the first one is Ballerina's Dream by Drops Design. As I said, they will be featuring heavily. It's new. It was only published in 2024. And it's an Aran weight pattern, but calls for like a lace weight and Aran weight held together. So like a strand of mohair, but you could skip that. And it goes from small to 3XL. And as always, Drops Design have they do write in a particular style, but I don't find it that hard to follow. If you followed other Scandinavian patterns, then I don't think it's that hard. And this looks really beautiful. It doesn't look too heavyweight. And what I just really like about wrap cardigans is that they do feel a bit more kind of slightly warmer weather. They feel like not freezing weather, right? I should say that I am making this video from the perspective of somebody who lives in Northern Europe. So I live usually in the UK. At the moment, I'm in Paris. I live in the east of the UK, but also spend some time in Scotland every year. And I would say that spring really can be anything from like 0 degrees Celsius to about 20 degrees Celsius. And that's the climate I'm catering for, really. So if you live in an absolutely freezing place, or you live somewhere where like your spring is my summer, then might not be less relevant. But I've tried to kind of cover the gamut from like almost summer weather, from like almost winter weather to almost summer weather, basically. And I'd say this leans more colder. But what I really like about it is that it feels a bit more structured and blouse-like. It feels like you can stay warm without having to wear like a super chunky knit. And to me, the wrap style is just like super flattering, especially because I've got really into like wearing baggier trousers and jeans recently. And I like the idea of like having the contrast of a more form-fitting top. So it's a sweater that can function a bit like a top. And I also love it that for me, wrap cardigans are really versatile because you can tie them quite tightly so they're more modest. You can also have them like a bit more revealing and wear like a nice camisole or bra underneath. And you can also have them, one of the ways I really like to wear them is have them kind of like tie looser and pull the shoulders wider so that they almost form like an off the shoulder. And I just find it a really versatile knit, and I'm desperate to have a new one because I had a couple of high street like store-bought ones in my wardrobe for years and I wore them to death. And I shaved them down so much that they're basically threadbare at this point, and they're like made of horrible material. So I'm really desperate for like a high quality wrap cardigan. So Drops Ballerina's Dream is the first wrap cardigan option. And that's a kind of thicker knit. And then the second free pattern I found for a wrap cardigan is Ballerina Wrap Top by 2 of Wands. And I have heard so many people talk about what a great pattern this is. And the other really versatile thing about this pattern, I mean, this is true of all patterns, right? So bear this in mind, is that it was actually originally designed as a top with short sleeves, and then they made a long sleeve version. So they give you the pattern for the decreases for the sleeves now. But also do bear in mind that any of the long sleeve things I can show you can be made either like 3/4 length or half sleeve or short sleeve. So that's another thing to bear in mind. And this is made with DK weight yarn. And I like this as a kind of slightly warmer weather option because I think this would work really well in like a DK weight cotton merino, for example. And you could even make it in cotton, I'm not sure, or like a cotton bamboo mix or something. But you could basically like, I think with a DK weight, you can really choose your material based on your climate and how warm you want it to be. Like I think that previous one, the Drops wrap cardigan, I would want that to be a slightly warmer one because it's knitted in Aran weight. And so I would want to use like a slightly fluffier, warmer yarn. And this one, I like it as like more of a blouse or top, and having it be in like a cotton merino blend would make it quite breathable and quite wearable, like right up until the end of spring for my kind of climate. And I just think it's beautifully flattering. And I have seen a few people make it. including made by Florence, who I've included one of her patterns in this bundle as well. And I've just heard great things about this pattern. So it's $9 to download the PDF, but you can get like the free pattern on the 2 of 1's blog. And yeah, I've just heard no complaints about this pattern. I've heard it's amazing and I really want to make it. Next up, cardigans. I'm obsessed with cardigans at the moment. I'm sick of making sweaters. I keep seeing gorgeous cardigans everywhere. And one type of cardigan I keep seeing that I really want for spring is a kind of Sezanne style, very basic, kind of quite fine gauge cardigan that isn't too oversized, that's quite fitted. And I found a few options for that kind of like amazing sort of basic. Some of them more form-fitting, some of them less so. So first of all, we have the ARG cardigan. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, by a Swedish designer, Sigrid Marie Blom. And this was published in August 2023, so like fairly new. And it's knitted up in sport weight yarn, like 24 stitch gauge, and recommending a 3 and a 3.5 needle size. So you'll get that kind of finer gauge, more refined type of knit, and you can create it with either like zero positive ease or a little bit of negative ease even, I believe. And it just looks lovely, and it looks a lot like the kind of sophisticated basics that I'm seeing. I kind of like it. The way I would like to wear this in spring is to maybe, uncharacteristically for me, make it in a size smaller than I might normally make for my measurements. So maybe make it in a medium or large rather than extra large. And then I'd probably make this in a medium, actually, with a merino or a cotton merino, maybe held together with a fluffier yarn. And then I would want to wear it with the last few buttons open. I think that looks really cute with a kind of, with like, so you have like a tiny bit of your belly poking out. I have a couple of tops that I do that with, and I think it looks beautiful, and it's very like on trend for 2025. Another one, a little bit more loose fitting on the model, but could work. But it's the dove feather cardigan, and I just think this is lovely for spring. And what's nice about this one is I feel like, just as I think that replacing like a heavier wool or a warmer wool with like a cotton merino blend could work for spring, I think this one, if you use like brushed alpaca silk or melody, which is the 2 of the ones recommended, or you use like a blown yarn, or yeah, you basically, if you use a brushed or a blown yarn, then the sweater will have like a more open, lightweight quality, and you could probably get similar gauge if you just use one of them, rather than the 2 held together that's recommended here. It goes up to a 3XL, and this would be a quick knit on 7mm needles. And it's just a really lovely basic cardigan. I think it would look really good, again, like open at the bottom. It would just look really good with like jeans, brogues, ballerina pumps. Very cute for spring. I really like it. And I also love cardigans because you can shove them in your bag and put them on when it gets colder. So like in like May time, if you want to go out, in the UK, it starts getting like absolutely freezing cold at like 4 p.m. for like no reason. And I quite like cardigans for being able to like throw over things or like put on under a jacket. And then the gala cardigan, for those of you who are looking for something a little bit more involved, I've picked a few like more kind of like feminine light pieces that include like cables or lace, for people who want something a bit less basic. And I think this is really gorgeous. So it has a bit of lace detailing on the sleeves and I think a little bit of cabling. It looks it definitely has, yeah, it's lace. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And again, I feel as though you could play around with the sizing to create something more form-fitting or a little bit looser, depending on the look that you want. But I really love cardigans like this, like done up all the way, undone a little bit at the bottom. Beautiful. And this is a sport and lace weight held together, which is basically a DK, I think. Or no, it's still a sport. I think this is really, really gorgeous and a lot of detail, and really refined, I would say, for a free pattern. Pretty good. I have picked a few V-neck cardigans because I think they also work well. I think V-necks also work well for spring because you just have like a bit less coverage. And you can wear a blouse or a shirt underneath, which I think looks really cute. Or I feel like, depending on whether it's tighter or looser, you can kind of wear it off the shoulder or wear it open. And it just gives a slightly more like open spring look. So I found this really beautiful v-neck, quite delicate lace cardigan, the Southern Migration cardigan. And this is knitted in a DK with a lace weight held with it, to kind of give a fluffy effect. And it has like a really, really beautiful motif on it that kind of looks almost like bees or insects. It's very cute, a little bit floral as well. Really beautiful. It's a v-neck with like a ribbed button band. And I just think it's very feminine, very cute. Again, could see this like going really well with like a pair of jeans. Super imaginative styling. And I also, for I guess a more androgynous or like slightly less feminine look, for a more basic v-neck, I found the Dublin cardigan by Emma Jensen. And this is an Aran weight cardigan, slightly looser and boxier, like a drop shoulder cardigan. But I could see this working really well to a couple of the other baggier cardigans where you can wear it open and you can throw it in your bag and you can wear it like between your top and a jacket. And I think this kind of cardigan is really versatile. But again, I'd also be interested in experimenting with playing around with what size I made so that I could create something that was a bit like baggier and cozier, or something that was like more form-fitting and like more like to be worn as a standalone rather than over the top or something. But I think that this is very cute. I could see it like under a denim jacket or with a couple of like, I've picked a few knitted like camisoles and tank tops, and I think this would look really cute over the top of that. And the Hillside cardigan, similar vibe. It's like more kind of more boxy, more like slightly more androgynous, but with balloon sleeves this time. Cardigan, again with a ribbed button band. And this is knitted in super bulky, so it's more chunky. And the other use for a cardigan, I think, in spring is to be able to wear it instead of a jacket, like at the end of spring, instead of a jacket or a coat. And that's the kind of thing I would use this for. And I think in like a light springy color like this, it would look really cute. Next category of cardigan is a kind of open knit, like a loose gauge cardigan. I've seen quite a few of these and I think they work really well for spring. Some of them have buttons and some of them are just open. But they kind of like fall, because they're cardigans, they kind of work that you can wear them a bit like a jacket, but also they often have like the shape and feel and flow of a blouse. And so you can kind of like make them smarter. And again, I think these would look really cute with a camisole. So first one is Dust Bunny. And it's knitted in an alpaca boucle. And the sample uses like a variegated lightweight yarn. This would look really cute knitted up in like a brushed alpaca or a mohair, and it's open. It doesn't have buttons. I mean, you could add them, but I quite like it open, almost like a really light jacket. I think it's really gorgeous, and I think that like light flowy material is great. Also, when you have such a lightweight cardigan like this, it's also amazing for like stuffing in your bag, particularly for like a city person like me and you're out all day. Next up, we have another like open kind of blousey cardigan in a lightweight yarn. And this is Cherished Moments by Drops. And it's knitted in brushed alpaca silk. And again, it's open, no buttons, and similar vibe. I think I really like the lack of ribbing on this. I think it gives it, like it has, I think I-cord edging. And I feel as though that gives it more of a kind of spring summery feel, while still like giving you some warmth from the brushed alpaca. And looks really good over a camisole. You wear it with a camisole and jeans. That's what you should do with every single outfit, apparently. And the next cardigan I picked, slightly heavier material, like slightly warmer, but really similar style, is the Turtle Dove cardigan. And it sort of has a bit more structure. It's almost like shaped like a bomber jacket, which I really like. But none of the samples have buttons on them, although there is the possibility of putting buttons or ties on, or poppers even, which could look cute. And I thought it was like just quite an unusual silhouette in a way for an open cardigan. I really like the way it's styled. I like the representation of like having people of different ages wear it and with different styles. There's really, really good sample photos for this one. And it's knitted with a fingering weight yarn and 2 lace weight yarns held together, which adds up to a DK. I would honestly probably just use a DK. But I do like the fluff, like that there's like the cover image is like a sort of light, like a dusty pink sample, and I can see the fluff and it does look really lovely. But yeah, there's something about this that seemed a bit like a bomber jacket, or like, I don't know, like something quite youthful. I also think this would be really cute with pockets if you wanted to add pockets. And yeah, it just seemed a bit more jackety, but still that like open front. And the Sweet Belle cardigan I picked because it's very blouse-like. So it's more of a blouse than a cardigan, really. It has buttons down the front like a blouse. But it's knitted in Drops Kid Silk, itchiest yarn ever. But it's knitted in 2 strands of Drops Kid Silk. So Drops Kid Silk had held double. I'd use something else. Or I'd use a different kind of mohair and just hold it, like maybe hold it single even. I think this would look really lovely in a super lightweight, fluffy yarn. And it's super feminine. I really like the peplum frill at the bottom, and I like the I-cord edging. I really like it when people do I-cord edging on these springier knits, because I just think it gives it a more lightweight feel to it. I feel like there's something about having like a chunky, like ribbed, like wrist and hem situation that can make knits feel a bit more wintry, autumny, like they can just look a bit bulky. And this just looks very light and flowy, but if you knitted it in a brushed yarn of some kind, it would still offer a lot of warmth. Perfect spring knit, in my humble opinion. Now, next category is something I'm very passionate about. Last time I was in Paris, so I was in Paris for a couple of weeks for rehearsals for this film, and then I came back to shoot, and I was just so inspired. I've been so inspired since the beginning of the year by all of the spring summer stuff I'm seeing on the high street and on catwalks and stuff. And I'm really, really into fluffy, short-sleeved t-shirts and cardigans. And obviously everything I've shown you so far can be made short-sleeved. But there's something about either like a half sleeve or a short sleeve that I think is really great. And I really love the juxtaposition of using like a fluffy yarn. Like this is a bulky weight, technically. It's Drops Melody. It's a bulky weight, fluffy. It's like a chunky, fluffy yarn. And I think it would look really good brushed too on a different, I wouldn't brush this one, but on a different kind of garment. So I'm really into that juxtaposition. And so I've picked quite a few short-sleeved sweaters and cardigans for you. So first of all, I've got April Snow. Love the name. This is a Drops pattern, and I just think it's a really cute early spring knit. You'd have to start it really soon if you want to wear it in early spring, or you could start it later in the year and wear it next spring. But I think it's gorgeous. I really love the juxtaposition of the cabling with the shorter sleeve. I just think it's so sophisticated. I think it's set in sleeves, which I really want to learn how to do. And I just think it's a really, really cute, like February, March type of sweater. So you really would have had to have started already. We're halfway through February. But yeah, it's a really good sweater for like, it's called April Snow. So, and I think it's like a perfect cold spring wear. I like the way it's styled. I would wear a different kind of jean with it, but I like the way they've styled it here. I think it would look really good with like a pair of gold earrings, pair of jeans. Don't need to overthink it. And I just really, really love this half sleeve at the moment. I am an absolute sucker. Short sleeve and half sleeve knits hate to see me coming this season. And next one, the Floral Lake cardigan. So like very feminine, short sleeved, fluffy cardigan with these like lace details around the yoke. I believe it's a circular yoke. And the lace kind of works similarly to like a circular yoke, like a Farrell color work pattern. And I just think it adds a really nice like feminine touch. And it's in brushed alpaca silk. And I'm just really into that look. I'm really into like the pastels of spring combined with like the kind of warm, like the warm fluffy texture of a brushed yarn, but then like the short sleeves that like hint at summer and spring. I think it's gorgeous. Next up, similarly, this is a bit more boxy in its fit, but this is Freedom by Lisa Renner. And this is knitted in chunky mohair, bulky, it reckons a bulky weight yarn. And it comes in a wide range of sizes. And I really like the bold color she's used for the sample. I feel like people are quite conservative when they choose colors for samples. And this came out really recently. It came out in August 2024. And it doesn't have a ton of projects, only 33 projects. But like considering it's a free pattern and considering the amazing yarn she's used, I really like it. I'm not sure about the construction, but I really like it, whatever it is. It kind of gives like a structural detail. It's like the increases, the pattern of increases kind of form a sort of asymmetric or geometric almost pattern. It looks very cool. And yeah, a bit more of an androgynous piece, particularly if you choose like a neon color like this. I feel like it's more fun and it's like fun and playful in a less feminine way, in a way that you could style it in a few different ways. And I just think it's great. And I just really love a big fluffy woolly t-shirt. I think it's impractical in some ways, but beautiful in others. Similarly, Dream and Rose, a bit more feminine with the sleeves, but also like a kind of drop shoulder design with a slightly less feminine fit, I suppose. But yeah, I think this is really beautiful. It's drops, as are half of these, and it's knitted up in Drops Air, which is a blown yarn, which I think would work really well for a transitional piece like this. And I just really want to wear sweater t-shirts all the time at the moment. Next up is White Spring by Drops. It incorporates a lace pattern, but it's knitted in cotton merino. And I think this would work really well for a lighter weight piece. I think that cotton merino does offer like a good degree of warmth, but also a lot of breathability. And I think that the lace pattern plus the cotton merino plus the short sleeves and the kind of like open sleeve of this would work really well for like a warmer weather t-shirt. I think it's really beautiful, really feminine. When I think about summer knits, I often think about like tank tops, and I forget that like I can knit t-shirts, and I want to do more of that this year. Similarly, for like quite a feminine take on a t-shirt is the Brown Butterflies top by Drops, which has this beautiful like kind of feminine frill on the arms, and just adds some lovely like detail to the silhouette. Again, for a more boxy fit, I really like the Nautical Nights top by Drops, and I could see this working again as like a late spring into summer piece, particularly with the stripes. I think this is really beautiful, and I would wear this with I love those like tie-on detachable collars. You've probably seen me wear them in my videos, and I would put a collar on that so fast you wouldn't know what's hit you, and that would be my way of like femming up the top. But yeah, I really love pieces like this. It's knitted in either Drops Daisy, which is I believe a non-superwash merino, or Drops Cotton Light, and yeah, I think this would work really well in either a cotton blend or a merino. And then finally in this section, Easy Going, which is giant fluffy t-shirt. Love it. Really love it. I can see this working. I can see this working in a few different ways. I can also see this working even as a dress, like as a short dress. I love it. I would for like an edgier look, which I'm not always sure I can pull off, or like I have to wait until I'm in like London or Paris and not Norwich, because I don't know if Norwich can handle it. I would wear this. I would wear something like this, like oversized, fluffy drop shoulder knit t-shirt with a pair of cycling shorts and like some socks and some trainers. I think that would look amazing. Really love it. I'm not really sure whether I would have the courage to pull that off in Norwich. I also love stuff like this with when I'm brave enough to do that Japanese thing of like layering baggy layers. So having like maybe this is like a long baggy like knitted t-shirt, like really fluffy, and then have like a silk maxi skirt underneath it, and then like a pair of knee-high boots. I love that kind of look. I'm not always brave enough to pull it off because I'm undoing slowly all of my conditioning that told me as like a curvy person, I always have to emphasize the smallest part of my body, which is my waist, and like nip things in at the waist all the time. And whilst I do like that look, and I think it's super feminine, and I do like to show off the fact that I'm curvy, sometimes I don't want to do that. One of my favorite YouTubers and internet friend, Natasha Crawford, said this in her last video. But I think I'm trying to unlearn some of that conditioning and learn to dress for fun, and to accept the fact that sometimes I'll be dressing for fun and I might be wearing something that makes me look bigger or doesn't like show off my body in some way, but like I'm just having fun, and it kind of doesn't matter whether it's like conventionally flattering or not, if you know what I mean. But I always wanted to try out that kind of like Japanese style of layering, but I felt like it was for people who were built differently to me. It wasn't for curvy people, but maybe it is, and maybe I'll do that. But I really like the idea of this with like a silk skirt, and the way that the silkiness of the skirt would juxtapose with like the chunky fluff of the yarn. And I do have one more t-shirt to show you, actually, more of an androgynous t-shirt. So this is the Slatter tee, and I feel like this would work for all genders. A few of the other ones would too, but this one is one of the only ones with like a mask body modeling it that I have on my list. But yeah, I love this as like a basic t-shirt knitted up in a sport weight yarn. I just think it would take a while, but it would be one of those like real workhorse pieces in your wardrobe. And I love the idea of like just love the idea of this in like a really like classic neutral in your wardrobe, and you can kind of dress it up or down and like elevate it or just like have it as like a really beautiful basic. It would look really great with like a pair of joggers to go to brunch or something, and it would also look good. What would I do? I would put a collar on it, tuck it into my jeans like a millennial, but you know, I'd style it. But yeah, just a really great basic pattern. And even though I said I wanted to get away in general from knitting sweaters, because I have been knitting sweaters for my last few projects, I did include a few sweaters. I think that it's great to have a few basic sweaters in your wardrobe for spring, some slightly lighter weight ones. And again, I think this is partly to do with yarn choice. I think that like I would go with more breathable fiber choices for spring knits. And also for spring, I really like those more kind of like sweatshirt style crew neck sweaters rather than more elaborate or fluffy or like roll neck sweaters that you might wear in like deep winter. So that's the kind I tried to pick. And the first one I think that's super versatile for a spring sweater would be the Step by Step sweater by Florence Miller. I've heard amazing things about this pattern. It's knitted up in Aran weight, but I think that you could find a way of making it a little bit more lightweight by choosing a yarn, like a blown yarn or a yarn blend that worked, or like a yarn combination that just like created a slightly lighter weight fabric. And I think that the options to add, the option for stripes works really well. I think you could make this shorter sleeved if you wanted to, but I think it works really well as like a kind of just a basic sweatshirt style raglan. There's various options for the neckline as well. And I think for a spring knit, I'd want like the kind of the shorter like sweatshirt style crew neck, and just have heard endless amazing things about this pattern. It's not a pattern I've knit. I want to, but if I could go back in time, I think I would choose this as my first sweater pattern when I started knitting, because I've heard great things about it. And I just included a couple more options. So another one that caught my eye is the Autumn League pullover, which has that really nice sweatshirt detail at the front. It's another 2 of 1s pattern, available for free on their blog, and it uses a cotton blend yarn, which is Lion brand collection cotton jeans. And I think this would work really well in a cotton yarn or cotton merino. I think I would use either cotton merino or like a cotton and synthetic blend, or cotton, yeah, something like that, because I just find 100% cotton too heavy. But yeah, it's knit up in DK, and I just think it's really beautiful to throw on over things, just like a really beautiful versatile spring piece that you can kind of style a lot like a sweatshirt. And just seems like a real kind of like, again, like a wardrobe workhorse. And then the other sweaters I've picked are kind of like, they straddle that same line I was talking about with the cardigans, where they are a little bit blouse-like. So Spring Snowflake, Drops saw me coming with these names. I think is really beautiful. Again, it's like similar to the cardigan. It's of the same name. It's kind of like a lace pattern where like some of the lace work is incorporated into the raglan increases, and it's knitted. Its suggested yarn is like Drops Paris, which is a cotton yarn, or Drops Air, and it's Aran weight. But I think if you use something like Drops Air, that's got like such a, because it's blown yarn, I think it will be like nicely lightweight. And yeah, it's kind of like a very kind of unfussy construction, but then the lace gives it, like, elevates it and makes it a little bit more feminine, but also makes it like a little bit more open. So you get that kind of more open, springy look. Similarly, Swan Grace, this is more simple, but I think the I-cord edging rather than ribbing does give it more of a spring look, and it's just like a really lovely kind of lightweight sweater to have as a basic. And final sweater option, there are so many Drops patterns, I'm sorry, is this Somarfin sweater, again knitted in Drops Air. And this is looks like slightly heavier weight, but not really. It's got more of a sweater. It's kind of like halfway between that sweater and blouse thing. But again, I just really like the lace weight details. And I think if you did this in like a really bright springy color, like a candy pink or a lilac, it would look really beautiful. It would also look great in white, I think. Next category is something that I really want to make for spring, which is a sweater vest. And I'm going to be start talking about sweater vests, and then I'm going to be moving into like camisoles and like tops, like ribbed tops, like fitted tops, because they kind of bleed into each other. So I think that sweater vests are really versatile, because I really love a sweater vest over the top of a blouse. I think it works really well over the top of a shirt. I have like a fine range of like really nice white collared shirts, like Peter Pan collars and like oversized collars, and I love to wear a sweater vest with them, and I think it works really well in spring as a transitional piece because it keeps your torso warm. But then I also really love a sleeveless sweater or a sweater vest on its own, particularly because I have a lot of tattoos on my upper arms and I like to show them off. So yeah, I am getting a bit more confident about getting my arms out. So I think I've picked some that could work for either or both. So I'm going to start with a vest, which is a kind of more unisex vest modeled mostly on like mask people. Yeah. This is from Drops Design. Again, it's the Boston vest, and it's a button-up vest, and it's unisex. And it's knitted up in DK, and it looks really lovely over shirts. But I could also see it if you made it in a smaller size, and you're a bit curvier. I could also see it as like something that you could make with a bit of negative ease. I think it would look really lovely on its own. Next up, College Days by Drops. Yeah, really lovely basic sweater vest. Again, would be just a wardrobe workhorse. It's knitted up in Drops Air, which is this blown yarn. I feel like I'm repeating myself. And I could just see this being a really, really versatile piece. And then Swirling Clouds Top, Drops again, is a more involved cable knit piece, and it's modeled as a top, but I think it would also work really well as a vest, like over the top of a shirt. Depending on the size that you chose to make. I think if I wanted to wear it more as a top, I'd make it in a smaller size. If I wanted to wear it over the top of a shirt, like a sweater vest, then I would just make it oversized. It's suggested yarn is Drops Cotton Merino. Again, I think if I was making it as something to go against my skin and something that was more of a late spring, early summer piece, I'd make it in the Cotton Merino. Although honestly, like there's nowhere to hide tension wise with cables with a Cotton Merino. It shows up. If you're like me and you have like rowing out issues, embarrassing. But I think it would feel really nice in a Cotton Merino or something like that. But I think if I was making it as a sweater vest, I'd want to make it in a fluffier, woollier type of yarn. And then the Tiara vest by Tanya Knits. I love this. Love it when people have these beautiful cable knits available as free patterns. Very nice of them. So yeah, this is Tanya and Kim's design, and I think that these cables look really lovely. And I think having like a bit like the April Snow piece by Drops, I think like incorporating cables into knits that aren't winter knits, because cables to me is such a like autumn winter thing. Incorporating cables into a spring knit I think is really great, and I think this would look lovely. I can see it again. I can see it on its own with a pair of jeans in a darker color, or like in a lighter color or a brighter color, as being something that you wear over a shirt. And I think it would work for all genders as well. Then we have the Open Trails sweater vest. I love this. I really love the shape of it. I love the amount of difference between the shoulder and the underarm. Like there's quite a lot of underarm stitches cast on by the looks of it. And it's knitted up in Lions brand respun Thick and Quick, super bulky. So this would be a really quick knit as well. And it seems like it would be quite a good like beginner knit. I love the shape of it. And I think I would, because of the amount of underarm stitches, I feel like it would work really well for people with like medium to large busts. And I would feel comfortable wearing this on its own as well as over the top of something. But yeah, also because it's quite thick, I think this would work well for an earlier spring knit. I feel like having something thick and warm over your torso would allow you to wear like something lighter, like a shirt, like a cotton shirt underneath, but still stay warm. Okay, moving on to sleeveless tops, camisoles. We're kind of moving into more like camisole strappy top territory. And I love these. I don't often wear them on their own, like out and about, but I wear them a lot on their own at home, and a knitted or underneath things. And I love a knitted camisole, particularly in a merino or cotton merino. I think it feels so luxurious against my skin. I like it that if I knit it with enough negative ease, I don't have to wear a bra with it. And I just think it looks great. And I have a few different options. And it's also going to lead me into talking about my next category, which is matching sets. Very excited to talk about that. Also very impressed that I found some matching sets all for free. So I'm going to start with the Sarah top or Sarah top. This is by Novita Knits. It was released in March 2020. It's knitted up in DK, and I really love the way that you can wear it with the buttons at the front or the back. I think it looks lovely at the back, actually, with the buttons down the back. I think it's really beautiful. And it's kind of, it's like knitted up in DK in a kind of ribbed fabric. It goes up to a double XL. and it's knitted in a wool cotton. I would knit this in a cotton merino. I think it's beautiful. Really simple, but something about those buttons at the back in particular, I think just make it look so sophisticated. Really like elevated basic. And then the Tip Top Tank Fine by Maker Store. I really love the tie details at the top. The original is just like a V at the front and back, which I also really love, but they have a tie, like a free tie-on expansion. And that works really well, particularly if you're not super used to knitting like strappy tops like this. You have to be quite precise, because otherwise, like, especially if you don't know how it's going to block, you have to be quite precise. So I like the idea of having the ties. I think it adds visual interest. It means with the ties, I'd be more likely to wear it alone because of that extra visual detail on the shoulder. I think it elevates it. I love a good bow. Who doesn't? We're saturated. I feel like bows are reaching saturation point, but like I'm going to keep going till the bitter end. I love bows. It's just great because it makes the top super adjustable, so you don't have to worry as much about being really precise about the strap length, because you can kind of adjust it. It also means you can wear it lower or higher depending on your mood. And I like it when tops have like that double V, like at the front and the back. I think it's really lovely, very flattering. Next up is Crop Top by Samantha Stater, Bitchcraft. I think this is really beautiful. You can make it short like a bra or bralette, or you can make the bottom ribbing longer and make it into a top. I love this. This is firmly for me in like loungewear category, or like underwear category, basically. Like I'm someone who would wear this on like casual days. I'd wear this under a sweatshirt or under a cardigan. And I love the idea of having a few of these to put on at home. I find them so comfortable. They're like a bit supportive without being at all claustrophobic. And they're knitted up in fingering weight, so it feels like a lot of work, but it's something I really want to work on more, is like fingering and like sock weight pieces like this that have a finer gauge, but like feel really lovely and can be worn directly against the skin. And I think I would use a really nice like sock yarn for this. And we have the Bliss Tank. This again came out quite recently, August 2024, and just like a really beautiful shape, a really basic tank top. But I find that like with basic tops like this, it's lovely to have free patterns, but like also I feel like they're deceptive, right? Because you're like, oh, that's such a simple pattern, but it's not like doing raglan maths, because you want it to be quite form fitting, and I feel like the maths has to be quite precise. Whereas like I feel like I can kind of wing other garments. I love the way it's worn here. I love it tucked into jeans. I think this would look great in black, to be honest. And I love it in white. And yeah, just really, really simple. I think it would be a real just like workhorse. With all of these tank tops, you can also use the inspiration of that Tip Top tank top with the bows, and either do the straps at the end or make the straps adjustable with bows. And then the Summer Secret top. Now we are really veering into like summer. This is Jessie Made Designs, great designer. I think this is one of their only free patterns, and it is very size inclusive. It's one of the more size inclusive patterns. Some of these patterns aren't super size inclusive, I must say, but really beautiful. Again, you can make it cropped or longer, and you can do a couple of different things with the straps. And there's loads of really great photographs on various body types. I like it that you can change up how you wear the straps depending on what kind of support you want and what kind of look you want. And yeah, really, really beautiful. Knitted up in fingering weight, quite a fine gauge, but that will give you like a really, really nice fit. And I just love some of the details here. I think Jessie Made Designs is a great designer. And next up, we have Strawberry Summer. This is by Drops again. And there are loads of different ways to make this top, to the point where I was a bit confused about whether it was like 3 different patterns, but it isn't. I really love this. It's a bit of a dupe for a couple of the camisoles by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Knitted up in Drops Saffron, which is a cotton yarn. I would worry about making this in like 100% cotton, because I just feel like it would stretch the hell out and be really heavy. But I think, again, I'd make this in a cotton merino. I think this is really beautiful. I love the way the increases work. And there's an option to do some like cabling, which seems crazy to me, but really cool. The way that the boob bit almost like shaped like cups kind of gives that like Gautier, Jean Paul Gaultier vibe, but in a very casual, wearable way. I really love this. I would make it like a tiny bit cropped, and I would wear it under things or use it as elevated loungewear. Which brings me to potentially my favorite category, which is that I have been obsessed with matching sets. I really love having a matching set. I love having like matching loungewear. And I also have just been really into seeing like people wear matching sets, like either like a skirt, like a cute like Chanel style like skirt and jacket, like a really formal matching set, or more casual matching sets. And I was like, no, that's too ambitious to expect of free patterns. But I found a couple. So first up, we have the Prairie Rose singlet, which is a great top by itself. It's a drops top, really, really beautiful. But as you can see, it's part of a 3-piece set. So the Prairie Rose singlet, the Prairie Rose cardigan, and the Prairie Rose shorts come as a 3-piece set. How to take your spring loungewear to the next fucking level immediately. I'm not sure that I will ever have the confidence to wear this in public. I feel like I'd be wearing my underwear. I just don't think I'd ever. I also think like as a curvy person, as someone with like medium-sized boobs and like a big bum and like a lot of curves, things like this on some model, like whilst on some people, they look like more demure, on me, they will always look a bit explicit, just because of the way that my body is built. And I'm not sure I'd wear this in public. I'm not sure. I might wear it in a meadow if I was like on vacay, but I'm not sure I'd wear it to like Tesco, you know? But I absolutely love it for like a lazy Sunday morning with a pair of like long slouchy socks, living my best life, living my most luxurious life. These three knitted up in like a cotton merino or like a beautiful sock yarn. Oh, amazing. Come on. I really want to knit this set. I think it's beautiful. And I'm just really into the idea of knitting bottoms for myself. And I have a few more bottom options, but first I have one more co-ord option, one more matching set, which is the Hellevic wrap top and wrap skirt. These are both available for free on their website. So the skirt is a really on trend, like kind of low rise wrap skirt that I've seen in quite a few shops. Almost looks like a skirt from the front, but it's not. It is just a skirt. I honestly, if I wore this skirt, would have to wear like modesty shorts underneath. It makes me too nervous. But like, are you kidding me that this is free? It's a free Ravelry download. Available from extra small to 4XL, knitted up in a DK weight yarn. Really beautiful, quite complex looking pattern, but I think if you wanted to make a simpler version of this, you could skip the color work if you wanted to and just make these in one color and just like ignore the chart. The top looks like a raglan with like these quite steep increases. And I just think it's beautiful. I can't believe this wasn't already on my radar. I think this is like one of the best finds of this research project of like free spring patterns. Almost criminal that this is free. It was released a year ago and it just feels like a perfect thing to think about knitting for spring. I think this is a perfect spring co-ord. I absolutely love it. If I'd already knitted this, I'd be wearing it around Paris. I think it's stunning. I think it would look great with a pair of knee-high boots as a set to really like go to town with it. But I also think both pieces work individually. I would love to, I could really see the skirt like dressed down a bit more with like a sweatshirt or like a sweatshirt or like a crew neck sweater. And I think that the wrap top looks great as a t-shirt, but also could see it with long sleeved as well as like more of a wrap cardigan. I think the whole thing is stunning, really unusual. Like I haven't seen another design like this on Ravelry recently. So very excited, one of my top picks, very exciting. It's kind of out of my usual style, but I just can't believe I found that co-ord, amazing. Now, pushing the boat out some more bottoms. I've got one pair of trousers, a couple of pairs of shorts and a couple of skirts to show you because I would really like to start knitting bottoms. I really love, God, it feels absolutely obscene to say the word bottoms this often. I hope I don't get demonetized. But I really want to start experimenting a bit more with my knits. I love a knitted jogger, like a fine rib knitted jogger. I've had a few pairs. They always pill because I always buy them from the high street and they're like made of synthetic material. And for really cold weather, they are amazing. Like whenever I'm in Scotland, I always used to bring like I had this pair of like merino joggers for ages that I completely wore to death. And they were so good to wear in Scotland. Like particularly when you're staying like out in the wild or when you go camping, particularly anywhere in Northern Europe, they're amazing for stuff like that. And I would love to become confident enough to knit more things that weren't just tops, basically. So comfy caramel trousers. from Drops, obviously. They're knitted up in Drops Alaska, which feels quite full on. Drops Alaska is very bulky. And you have the option of making them into shorts or trousers. And also the option of cuffing the bottoms tighter or making them wide leg. I like the idea of making them like a barrel leg. I love these, and I think it's great that they're free, small to 3XL. That seems to be the maximum size range of Drops. They don't do an extra small, and they don't do anything about, they don't do a 4 or 5XL. Knitted up on a 5mm needle. Oh, I see. So you're using like quite a bulky, you're using an Aran weight yarn. Drops Alaska is quite like intense. I feel like I've heard Drops Alaska is quite itchy as well. I haven't used it. I think it's beautiful. I like how fluffy they are. You know what? Also, these would look great in like a boucle, an alpaca boucle or something like that. Maybe held with a merino. Yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd hold an alpaca boucle with a like sport or DK weight merino together to make an Aran weight. That's what I'd do. Like a brown, maybe in a brown color or a cream color. I think that would look amazing. And you could make one of the camisoles I showed you in the same, and it would be like a matching set. Oh my God, guys. Cozy spring. Okay, next up, I have a couple more pairs of shorts. So this is really like going out on a limb, but I do like the way that Drops have styled these. It's so funny because sometimes Drops is quite conservative, but in other times I'm like, wow, you really pushed the boat out styling wise. Winter warmer. I believe these are intended to be like Scandinavian underwear, like Norway in January. You're wearing these underneath a bunch of other stuff, but I love them as a standalone piece. So these are the winter warmer shorts. You can also, of course, extend them and make them into leggings or joggers, depending on how much decreasing you do. But I don't know enough about like decreasing for legs. They are almost certainly underwear, but I love them. I love them as loungewear. I love the idea of wearing these with like a really oversized sweatshirt or like crew neck sweater, or like a slouchy cardigan and a camisole. Beautiful. Really like them. Love the ribbing detail on the sides. Kind of like the way they've styled them with like tights, but then I realized that it was because they're suggesting, I think that's a thermal top and thermal tights she's wearing, and they're suggesting that they're like warm underwear. They're to keep your butt warm. But I love them. Then I don't know why they're called this. Shorter shorts. They're called Why Not? Also by Drops. The photos of them not on the model look absolutely horrific. But the photo of them on the model, I was like, I love these. Again, I think they are supposed to be underwear. They're knitted up in Drops Flora. Drops Flora is a combination of wool and alpaca. I love that whoever made this pattern was like, why not? I really love the wide like waistband that you can fold over. I think that's really beautiful. And also, like, I mean, if I made these, I'd make them longer than they are here. But yeah, I really love them. And I love either having them like really high-waisted with that long ribbed waistband, or being able to fold the waistband over and have them lower-waisted. I think that they are really beautiful. And I'm just like, let's knit shorts. Let's be ambitious. And then I have 2 skirts to show you. So Drops Snowbell. Very on trend, I have to say. I don't know if this is deliberate or not, but very on trend with the kind of low-waisted, like the low rise of the skirt. I think that it's something that I would like to experiment a bit with, but I'm terrified of low-rise stuff. It's knitted up and super bulky, so this would knit up quite quickly, and I think this would be a great first skirt project. Oh, okay. The reason it's low-rise is because it's from 2011, when I was young. How old was I in 2011? 26. God, not even that young. I think this is a great first project, and I imagine it's pretty versatile in terms of like, as long as you made the waistband, as long as you did the ribbing tight enough, I think that like 1x1 rib is so stretchy that you could probably adjust this to be lower or higher rise. But I like the idea that you could make this, I like the idea that I could experiment maybe with a slightly flexible waistline, so that I can start to experiment with whether I'm ready for the return of the low rise. But yeah, I think this is great. Super basic, comes in small to 3XL, like all the Drops patterns, knitted up in Snow or Andes, which is like, I think that's like almost like the roving yarn that Drops sell. If I did this, I would probably do it holding 2 lighter weight yarns together, or like a lighter weight yarn with a brushed yarn, and I would probably want to make something fluffy. I think this skirt could be a good candidate. If I wanted to make a co-ord with this, I kind of almost want to make like bloomers to go with this, because I think it would be so cute, but like I'd be lying to myself if I said that I would wear it outside the house. But I do think I would wear a skirt like this out the house. And I think if I did like 2x2 ribbing rather than 1x1 ribbing, I could do it. And then I have a second skirt pattern to show you by Handheld Knitting. Again, 2011. 2011 was a big year for knitted skirts. But yeah, very flexible sizing. And it has these 2 big pockets at the front. It's great, actually. I really like this. And again, a lot of flexibility in terms of like whether you want it high, mid or low rise, because that waistline. It's a lot finer gauge. So it's knitted up in a sport weight yarn. It's 26 stitches, 26 stitch gauge. 3.5mm needles. But yeah, really like lovely basic skirt pattern. And I think this would work really well in a light color for spring. I think this would work really well in white for spring if you wanted to go all out. And again, if you wanted a co-ord, you could pair this with one of the cardigan patterns or one of the camisole patterns and create a co-ord for yourself. Moving on to accessories. I love in spring being able to show off my socks a bit more. I love wearing like brogues or like court shoes. I don't have a pair of tabbies, but I like would consider wearing tabbies with socks, or even wearing like a skirt with boots and then like with socks rather than tights. I think it's a season of socks. You can show your socks off. And so I've picked a few different like springy sock patterns. The first one is Dancing Doves by Drops Design. These are actually crochet. This is the only crochet pattern I have. And they have a beautiful frill at the top. And I'm really scared of making socks, but I think maybe if I crocheted them, because I'm quite comfortable with crochet. I like the idea of crocheting them because it means that I wouldn't have to use magic loop. But I just really love the frill at the top. I think it's gorgeous. Also have these lacy, like these lace socks, which I think would look really gorgeous for spring. They're a bit short, but I think you can make them longer. It's just like a simple lace pattern. And these again are from Drops. And another Drops pattern, slightly more intricate lace by the looks of it, is Bright Morning Socks. This is a new pattern from them. And I think they look really lovely in this yellow colour. Also, if you wanted to, I think you could find a way of putting frills at the top instead of rib, but I think it might affect how well they stay up. And then I'm So Basic Socks by Summerly Designs. I really like these and I think there's loads of possibilities. I like the way that these are more of a classic crew sock. And I just keep seeing people using like socks. I'm not a big like bright colour person. I'm trying to embrace a bit more colour, but I keep seeing people dress in like more muted colours the way that I do, but then we'll use like socks and scarves as like pops of colour. And I would like to experiment a bit more with that. And so I like the idea of doing these in a really bright colour and having them paired with, say, like a black and white outfit, but just have them like popping out, or like, you know, just like jeans and a black sweater, but you've got this like pop of colour coming out of the bottom. I think it's lovely. And just think spring's a great time to show off your socks. And then last sock pattern is Basic Ribbed Socks by Kate Atherley. I've heard loads of good things about this pattern. I also like the idea of making these longer and having them be a kind of at home. Like I feel like if you made them longer, you can make them a bit slouchy and have them complete my dream like knitted like shorts, camisole, cardigan combo. Make the socks in the same colour. And then I know that it's spring, but listen, it's cold out here. So I have picked a couple of like spring accessories to kind of like take us through that transition season. So I've got a couple of headwear and scarf pieces. So first of all, the Winter Hug Hood, transparently a ripoff of Petite Knit's Sophie Hood. But who am I to judge? It's a free pattern. It was released January 2025. No kidding. Drops really do be ripping people off. I'm sorry that there are so many Drops patterns here. I feel like they don't pay me anything to promote them this much. It's just that like they do have a great pattern library, but like when you look at the contemporary patterns, you can see like, oh, all the older patterns must also be ripped off. But yeah, this is basically the Sophie Hood. It's called the Winter Hug Hood. And not much to say about it. It's knitted up in Drops Kids Silk Held Double with Drops Daisy. And I think that having a hood like this would be a great thing to have in your bag for those early spring days that fool you, like this day in Paris where it looks really sunny and you go outside and it's freezing or the temperature suddenly drops. Or like me, you're in like every spring I go to this writing retreat in a mountain in Scotland and I go for a walk and it seems sunny and then suddenly the weather turns and it starts to snow. This would be a great thing. Secondly, I want to talk about my Little Edie Bonnet. So the Little Edie Bonnet is the only one that's not in the Ravelry bundle because I'm not on Ravelry. I haven't put the pattern on Ravelry yet. But you can watch the free YouTube tutorial and also get the free written pattern in the description under the tutorial. This was my first ever pattern. It's completely free. I walk you through it and it's a really versatile pattern. And I think that bonnets are a great look for spring. So the Little Edie Bonnet, completely free. That's the end of my self-promotion. Next up, we have the strawberry blush scarf from Drops, which is like, I don't really get shawls, but I do think that something like this might work. And it just seems like something that's just a great layering piece for spring. And I don't have much to say about it. It just feels like quite a basic thing. But I also think this is the kind of thing where I could experiment a bit more with a bright colour. It's knitted up in like a bright pink here. And I think that this is the kind of place where I want to experiment a bit more with colour with my accessories, like bright colours. Then we have the Ladybug Scarf, which is a brand new pattern by Stockinette Bitch Eva, who is a fantastic YouTuber and designer, has a couple of patterns out now. This is completely free, and it has like a really beautiful cable pattern with a chart, and it just looks great. And I feel like this is the perfect spring scarf because it's thinner, but just provides, it's like, you know, you're not kind of carrying around a giant blanket scarf, but just provides a bit of warmth for those early spring days. And it's knitted in cashmere, like her sample is, which would be delightful on one's neck. I feel like with a small piece like this too, you can make it in like a luxury yarn because you only need a bit of it. You only need 162 to 170 meters, so that just feels really like doable financially to use something like a cashmere in a way that it wouldn't be for a sweater. And also I've seen people wear scarves like this as headbands, wrapped around twice, a bit like this, but tied. And I think that would also be great as like an ear warmer or a headband on those early spring days. And then I also have, for very cold spring days, I just wanted to include these Tabi mittens. Keep seeing everyone talking about them. So like you have Tabi shoes and Tabi socks, and now there are Tabi mittens, which apparently are also called trigger mittens and were used in the Second World War so that people could still fire there whilst keeping their hands warm because their trigger finger was separate to the rest of their fingers. And this is a free pattern by Material Girls. It's knitted up in Aran weight yarn. And I just think this is really fun and really cute. And honestly, the weather is so cold that if you are living in my part of the world, you could probably get a month's wear out of these still. And I love these and I really want to knit them, and I probably am going to. Are they practical? No. Then we have the Soho scrunchie. This is another place where I think that I want to experiment a bit more with colour. This is also just a great way to use up scrap yarn. It's by Tori Yu. I can make the mini, the medium, or the jumbo. This just seems like an amazing use for scrap yarn. And I also really like it if you have scrap yarn like left. If you're into, you can tell that I'm into like co-ords and matching at the moment. If you have scrap yarn left at the end of a project like this, like you could use that yarn to make a scrunchie, and the scrunchie goes with the sweater. Isn't that cute? So I could make a scrunchie to go with my socks and my shorts and my cardigan and my camisole, and just be like head to toe matching. Wouldn't that be cute? And lastly, I have a couple of bags to show you. I am in the market for some new casual spring bags, and I have yet to knit a bag. I have crocheted some accessories like that, but I have yet to knit one. So first of all, we have the dumpling bag by Pearl Soho. I feel like this is like ubiquitous bag for knitters. It's a great project bag. It's a great like shopping bag. It's really, really cute. It does look like a dumpling. I love it. And yeah, it just looks great. Very simple project. Again, would be great to use up any like spare cotton or linen yarn that you have. I certainly have a lot of cotton yarn scraps from a few crochet projects that I think I could use for this, and just looks really cute. And I like it in these neutral colors. Just feels very light, very spring summer. And then the other one is Simple Knit Tote. I love a tote bag, but also by Pearl Soho. I really love this. Really love it. I love it in this kind of like white, slightly mild yarn they've used. I've been talking for so long. Believe it or not, there are even more examples of each category that I've included on the Ravelry bundle. There are over 100 patterns on there. But I hope this gave you some inspiration for your spring knits. Let me know if there's anything obvious I missed out, and let me know which of these patterns you'd actually be interested in trying. I would really love also to talk about paid patterns and like the designers that I really love, and kind of highlight some designers that are maybe not on everybody's radar the way that like Petite Knit and My Favourite Things Knitwear and a handful of other designers seem to be, because there are loads and loads of really exciting designers and newer designers and indie designers out there that I really want to support and would happily buy patterns from. But I also think that there is absolutely no shame in wanting or needing free patterns, and free patterns can also be a great resource if you are looking to start self-drafting but you need a bit of help with the initial maths. Or you want to use a free pattern to start as a kind of springboard for your own ideas and your own designs, particularly with like kind of ubiquitous basics like raglans and drop shoulders. If you just need somebody to do the maths for you, the initial maths, and then you can kind of use that as a springboard, then they're great. And as long as you're not stealing paid patterns from designers, these designs are readily available for free, and they are there for you to use. And also, it's a great way of, with newer designers, if they have a free pattern available, you can test that out and see if you like their style of designing before you buy. So have fun with all of your spring knits, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye everyone.